He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia High School coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 14 of Sun Coaches Podcast, and today we are at the Nike Coach of the Year Clinic the whole weekend, and our first guest is Coach Ryan Moore, a native of Orlando, Florida, played at Dr. Phillips High School, went on to play at the University of Miami, and then was able to play at the next level, the Canadian League, and a little arena football. Coach, it's good to have you today.
Man, it's great to be here, man. Great to be around a lot of football minds and just be around the game, man. I love it.
Yeah, Coach, I got to meet you last year at this same clinic and never made the connection until this morning. And I was like, oh, you're that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to lead with attributes or kind of talk about myself, but I mean, unless it's to get through to some kids. But I'm glad to be here, man, and I'm glad to share my experiences and just try to help some coaches and help some young kids just be better, you know.
That's awesome. Well, coming out of Dr. Phillips, I know you were a two-sport athlete. Did you have to – I mean, you were highly recruited. Did you really have to make a decision which sports you were going to play, or was it always football? Or, I mean, did you have options to pursue either one?
Well, yeah, honestly, at the time, my senior year, I was a top 25 basketball player, a top 5 football player, and also a junior Olympian in track at the same time. So a lot of those opportunities came to me at the same time. And the decision to not play another sport was solely dependent on the school I went to. And like I said, I chose University of Miami. And at that time, they wasn't allowing you to split your time between another sport. So just by choosing Miami, it kind of exit out me playing basketball or anything. But I did run track at University of Miami and long jump, triple jump, all that stuff too.
Well, that's awesome because these days, you know, kids want to specialize.
Yeah.
And, you know, we try to tell them, give yourself as many opportunities as you can have.
Yeah.
And these kids these days, they put all their eggs in that one basket.
Yeah, man, and I tell them the same thing too. It's so important to your athletic development to play other sports, man, and really find your athleticism in other arenas. And then when you get back to the sport that you really want to play and you love, you'll be better at it and stronger at it, you know.
Well, we can show them better than we can tell them, and that what we.
Yeah, because I mean they're 7 and 8 years old. I'm a quarterback. I'm a receiver. They're already telling you what position they're playing. I'm like, come on, son, you a football player. You know, even all the way up to high school, you'll get, you know, a kid that they've never played another position their whole life, and then they get to high school, and you gotta play defensive end now or safety now, and then it's a shocker to them. So,
yeah, it's you know, trying to, especially these days, all the pressure they have on them. I mean, now you played at the U.
Yeah,
super pressure back in the early 2000s, and I mean y'all had pressure and things that you had to deal with and all of that, and you know, but these kids these days with NIL and everything else, and just the way society is today that they have going on,
yeah, man,
and I mean just what they deal with. I mean, so they could learn a lot from somebody like you that's lived it and been through it.
Yeah, and I take my hat off to them. I understand what's going on right now, and I see that like when I was playing, our pressure came from the program, from the history of it and what we had to come behind and what they expected from us. And now I think a lot of the pressure comes from because they're seen so much. Everything is filmed. Their goods, their bads. When they're off the field, they have more lights and cameras on them, so they can be put on a pedestal faster and cut down faster right now too. You know, if they do something wrong or do something good, the wave goes faster, you know.
Well, and everything goes live too.
Yeah,
I mean, like I tell them kids, you know, when we were coming up, somebody could say, "Hey, we heard you did this, or we saw you did it." And what, me?
Yeah, you had to be at the game to see me get that done to me. Now it's up there before the game's over with.
Or when we were out and about, hey
Yeah.
man, I heard you at this party and this. No, it wasn't me.
It wasn't
you
me.
See, you must have been somebody. You are sorely mistaken, sir. It was somebody else.
Yeah,
Where
for
now
sure.
the first thing they do is throw the phones up, you know, and they're not responsible enough to take care. I mean, they just have so much more that they have to be conscious of. Because now, you know, we were talking earlier before we came on about the professional model when they go play at the college level. And they're looking at everything these kids do.
Everything, their social media, their family, everything. If you have someone that's around you that could be toxic or could get you in trouble. So I think that's something that they are figuring out, the kids right now, that the social media and the phone is productive and it helps you guys, but this is the part of it that how they're using it to watch you too, or to judge you, or to separate you from another guy they may like too, you know. All the way up to the NFL, you know.
Well, we're going to get back to that, but I know you don't like to talk about yourself. You know, just you're a humble guy and quiet, and I guess that's why I never made the connection. And besides, you look a lot different than you did in your playing days. Slimmed down, and we've
for
all
sure.
gotten older. I mean, you told me when you saw me, it's like I didn't even know who you were when I saw you. But urban myth, legend, which is not, it's actual fact, is that you were the first player at the University of Miami after scoring to throw up to you. Fact or fiction?
I mean, it's a fact. I mean, it wasn't a purposely done, but it was a fact. I didn't know I was the first because around our campus, amongst our student body, the band, that was like a thing they were doing on campus. So if you went to Miami, you had seen it before. But in the game, I kind of wanted, it was a bowl game, and I kind of wanted to include our fans and include our kids and let them know that, you know, we know y'all with us, we with us, and it's something that we understand that nobody else understands yet.
Right.
But we had been seeing that
And y'all were playing Florida, right?
Yeah, it was a Peach Bowl, I think. Yeah, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Yeah.
Y'all playing Florida, so that makes it even.
Yeah. It was more significance behind it as far as family and our school and our pride. More than just showing off to you or something, but it has turned into that now.
Right. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's, you know, because all of us, you know, I'm a Georgia kid from Georgia. And I mean, we know we know who played, and I'm older. So, I mean, I grew up in the Jimmy Johnson era and, you know, them guys, you know, when they were the you know, and you guys coming through, watching you guys play in the last group to really, you know, be those guys. And, you know, good to see Coach Chris Ball and them trying to get it back to what y'all expect with that expectation.
For sure, man. I feel like they're on the right track. Coach Chris Ball is a good coach, man. He's a good coach. He was actually the tight ends coach my last year at Miami. And me and him had a good relationship, so I think he'll do a great job.
So you left there and you got an opportunity to play in the Canadian Football League, is that correct?
Yep. I went to Edmonton, Canada, played there for a couple of years. Great experience, man. Got to see the world a little bit, play with some other NFL guys and pro guys. Came back to the States, took a break for like a year, then I got into the arena football, which was very fun. At that point in my career, I was all about learning. I wanted to learn everything it was about football, what I didn't know, and just put myself around ball as much as possible.
Well, I can't imagine growing up in the South, in middle and spending most of my career in middle and South Georgia, and the cultural difference of going to me, which would be like the North Pole. You know, how you grew up in Orlando, Florida, and you end up in Edmonton, Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to be. I mean, what was that like? The first time you get there, what is it? I mean, some stories like, what's it like when you get up there?
Well, I'll tell you, when I got there, it was the time of the year where it's light outside until like 1 a.m. So,
really?
Yeah. So like for the first couple of weeks, I didn't get any sleep because I couldn't go to sleep because the sun didn't go down.
Right.
The sun only went down for, I think it was like 1 to 6 or 1 to 5. It was like 4 or 5 hours. So we're like up all night. We're thinking that we're up in the daytime, but it's really 12 o'clock at night and the sun's going down.
And this time you're like, your body, you're a highly tuned athlete. Like you're used to getting.
Yeah, man, I was wired like 24/7 the first couple of weeks. So that was an adjustment. But
Did they have people there to like help you guys?
No.
I mean, I know no, you're on your own.
You on your own to figure out your body and the time zone. And
The culture, like they didn't have like
Yeah.
nobody on the team. I mean, did you just rely on other Americans to like?
Pretty much all the Americans that come in together, they pretty much figure everything out, amongst themselves. But I mean, when you get on the football field, that's the familiar place.
Right.
So I was at home once I touched the green, and then when practice was over, I was like, "Where am I?" Somebody help me.
But you were telling me that you liked arena because it's more like basketball.
For
I mean,
sure.
it was still football, but you could showcase some basketball skills out there, which you had, background, very good background in. And you said that was a lot of fun. I mean, talk about that a little bit. I mean, it was probably in the early days it wasn't the early days of arena, but it was.
Yeah, I
popping
came. My first year was 2011. Was my first year, so the league was coming in and out. It was coming back, I think, in that year. But I went into that game, into that league, like everybody else, trying to use it as a stepping stone to get to the NFL.
Who'd you play for?
I played for the Jacksonville Sharks, Iowa Barnstormers. I played for the Allen Wranglers with T.O. When he went to arena trying to get back to the league. I was bouncing around pretty much to the best teams, trying to be in the best position, trying to get to, that next level. So, but it's really another game.
Right.
And you have to learn more angles, and you have to be more precise, honestly, than it is outside. You can't just run past people. You really have to set them up and have a plan. So that kind of helped me a lot in my knowledge of leverage, of angles, of footwork, for me to help the next generation of receivers. So I kind of took some of my outside knowledge and my inside knowledge that I learned there, and that's kind of part of my teaching in my program now. So, I mean, that was very beneficial to my knowledge.
Well, who was the best best secondary guy you played against? Was there anybody that ever you just matched up against that just he could it was going to be a war? Like, you knew when you played this guy, you were like, okay, let's see.
Man, I give you two. We played Florida State one year. They had Antonio Cromartie on one side, Brian McFadden on the other side. Tony Carter was the slot, and they had Patrick Watkins was the safety. And usually when you're getting doubled, when you're the number one guy like I was, they move you around a lot, and you see when you get the mismatches. That game, I got no breaks. Like it was crazy. Like,
Where to hide.
Every side in the slot, it was tough, man.
They didn't have one they had to hide.
They didn't have any weaknesses that year. And even when they blitzed, their safeties could cover, and they were tall. And I didn't realize that till I seen those guys play in the league too. Brian McFadden had a great career. So did Antonio Cromartie. And I was like, man, that's why it was hard for me, So, yeah, that was probably the toughest matchup when it was more than two DBs on a team that was good like that.
Who was the best that you played with, like other receiver, that you just looked at and was like, man, that dude right there, he's good, like in college?
I'll give you two. Andre Johnson for sure was somebody that I looked up to, and he was walk and teach tape. His technique, everything that he did was so polished, and he was so big and so fast. And also I'll probably say, Reggie Wayne was another one. I watched a lot of film, and I got a chance to work out with him and train with him when he came back. Those are the two guys where I saw that they were super athletic, but they were beating people with their mind. They were beating people with plans. They could beat a double team. They could dominate a game just because of their knowledge and their skill and everything that they put together. So those were the best overall that I've been around.
Yeah, because when you get, it's easy for us to tell these kids, because, obviously I didn't play college football or play at that elite level that you guys did. But as coaches, we sit here and we try to tell them, look, now, baby, when you get to this next level, they're all going to look like you. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be people that are better than you, and they look at you like you've lost your mind. So when you get there, now you have to
I'll give you one
work
better.
on your craft.
It was people that I was better than when I got there, but they play better than me because they know more. That was difficult for me. I'm faster than you. I'm bigger than you. I got better hands than you. But you perform better. Your production is more because you know what you're doing. That was more frustrating. The people that were bigger and better than me, I accept. You know, you can accept that. Oh, that guy. You know, I know he's gonna play. I know Andre Johnson's gonna start. I know this person. But it was dealing with that. Like, I'm not playing because I don't know my whole playbook. I'm not playing because I didn't pass the test this week. I'm not playing because I don't know all the DB's names this week. You know, so that part of it was
You just weren't showing up going,
yeah,
all right,
I'm thinking
fast,
I'm going to
tall,
athletic
I can
everybody, and nah.
Them days were over.
It's probably two games in a year you can do that. The rest of them, you know, you got to be on your P's and Q's, you know.
And who was your quarterback when you were there?
My first year, I had Dorsey, Ken Dorsey. He was great, man. I didn't get a chance to get in the game with him much because that was my freshman year, but he was great. That next year, we had Brock Berlin, transferred from Florida. He was good, too. I liked him out of the shotgun. That was the year I had the most yards. Then after that, we had Kyle Wright from California. It's like Gatorade Player of the Year. Great guy. Our record wasn't so good with him, but you know those were the three that I had when I was there.
Did you have a preference, or it didn't really matter to you? Just give me the ball.
It didn't matter. I liked it, Brock, because he liked to throw it around. His background, he came from a spread. He really pushed. Hey, we need 3-4 receivers in all the time. We need, you know. So I liked him. Yeah, I liked him.
So how'd you get into coaching? Like, when was your first year working with high school, like coaching high school?
Probably about 6 years ago. I always, even when I was playing arena, Canada, wherever I went, I would find a local Pop Warner or a YMCA, and that's where I would work, or a Boys and Girls Club. So I would always try to put myself around the kids and just try to give knowledge back that I knew, you know, even when I was playing. But probably about 5 or 6 years, I've been coaching high school football exclusively. So, yeah, and I really enjoy it, man. I want to keep giving back in that way, and hopefully keep moving up, man, and spread my knowledge that I have.
So, I mean, like, what working with those kids, what have you seen, like, the difference between kids these days, air quotes, and then, like, when you played? Like, what's the major, like, is it attention span? Is it love of the game? Is it willing to put in the work? I mean,
I think.
What do you think a difference is between when you were coming up and what you see these days as far as high school athletes and what you see?
The main thing is the goals and the expectations are disconnected more now. Before, no matter what level we were at, we knew what it took, or we had an idea what it took to, and we respected that idea, what it took to be a D1 football player or an NFL football player. It's like now you got to convince them, you got to show them this is what it takes, because they have a delusion of, I could do this, or I can go play at Georgia, I can go play, like, nah, you got to kind of show them what it takes. I don't know if it's because they see more highlights and they see more of success because it's just everywhere on social media, right, and they think it's accessible like that, but it's not that easy, you know, to be successful. You can get there, but that's another thing, to be successful at the college level.
Well, and turning their noses up at any opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, I saw something on Twitter, X, whatever, the other day, and somebody had put, and I love this post, and they had Power 5, G5, and they went all the way down, NAI, and they even went to the club, whatever their classification is, and it said to the right, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. You know, and some of these kids that turn their nose, get out. They're going to use you. Use them. Get that paper. Get that degree.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, you know, you got hurt your sophomore year at Miami. Mm-hmm. They rolled you out and found another one look just like you. They want you to come back.
He was already there. Shout out Lance Leggett. Shout out those guys, man. They was already there. So I was aware of that also.
I mean, they didn't kick you off to the wayside. They wanted you to come back, but they didn't stop what they were doing and go, oh, bless his heart, he's hurt. We got to stop.
And at that time, your position wasn't saved by injury. So you had to come back and earn it again.
Right.
Because this guy's playing good too.
So the disconnect with these, you know, and like you said, you still, and it's hard for us. I mean, that's something, you know, I love talking to you last night. We were talking about, you know, we were talking about my son, and you were just saying, you know, I can tell that you had the way that you are with kids just by talking to you, and you're like, well, he's just different. You know, just let him be different. Yeah. Because these kids, we have to approach them differently now and try to ease them into, we can't coach them like we were coached
For sure.
because they're not us.
It's not a one-all solution like it used to be. You got to get to know them. You got to coach them differently. And I think that's something that all coaches should probably try to better themselves in now.
Build that relationship.
Learning different ways to communicate your message, learning different ways to teach what you're trying to teach. Because as being a teacher in school and other different places, that you have to teach each kid differently. You got to know how they learn it and meet them there and teach them that way. And I see some coaches, they know what they know very well, but they only know how to teach it one way, and they only get it half of the kids to get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I think that's very important to the communication part, to learn how to communicate your message in different ways, whether that be visually, whether that be on the field, in the film, some type of video game format where they learn a lot of different ways. So I think that's one of my strengths, and that's very important to, especially now, to have different ways of communication to them, because all of them not gonna take the old ball coach mentality. Some of them need to be nurtured. Some of them need to be. It's just what it is now.
Well, and that's what my head coach now that I work for. He's a younger guy, and he does a really good job. He's the son of a coach, and his daddy was an excellent football coach, and he was real good at taking programs. He ain't got the greatest record in the world in the state of Georgia. But what he did do is, there's a lot of great mechanics in bad shops. He took over a lot of bad shops,
Right.
and made them competitive and good.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew up watching his daddy coach old school, by God, this is the way we're going to do it, and didn't get treated any differently than anybody else. So he has that mixture of, he can be old school,
right,
when he needs to, but he can also, he's really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. And that's something that I enjoy as an older guy that's on the way out, watching, okay, we do have hope. We do have some that get it, because he gets on them. He don't baby them. Mm-hmm. He gets on them when they need to be gotten onto, but he doesn't step over the edge.
Yeah,
and
it's really
that's
a balance.
It's a balance.
It's really a balance. It's really a balance now, because back in the days we were taught, whatever your coach say, that's what it is. No matter what he says, how he says it, you take the message. We're not worried about the tone or the messenger. The message is correct, so you need to do it. So
yeah, the idea of asking a kid in the huddle, "What do you want? What do y'all think we should do?" That didn't exist.
Yeah.
And these days, I heard it this year. Hey guys, y'all think? What do y'all think we should run right here?
For sure, man.
And I agree 1,000% with that, because they're the ones out there doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what do y'all want to run right here? We want to run this. Y'all think y'all can get it? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, go get it.
You see, it's beneficial during the week for sure too, man. And when you include them on it, even if you don't use their idea, just to include them, man. We care about what you say, your opinion. You the one playing. You the one. What you think?
Yeah. Ultimately, I'm gonna make the call,
And
it gives them ownership.
Yeah, I think now that's the way to get them to be a student. That's the way to get them to watch the film. That's the way to get them to do their own research.
Well, it's like you said, you might not play this week at Miami because you don't know the DB's names that you're playing against.
For sure.
And these kids probably don't understand that that's part of it. They probably just think, I show up, I go to group, I catch balls, I run routes, I know the plays, I get to play.
Nah, don't work like that. Man, we had a whole academic test every Thursday. It was like 5 pages long. You had to know what was going on, the people's names, their heights, the strengths, the weaknesses, what they like to do, what are they running on third down. Just everything that a coach probably would know. That's what you was tested on. So
you had to recognize coverages off the rip. Like,
everything.
As soon as you got out there, you're listening for tags. You know what they're in. Like we talked about how people play cover two now, and you're getting pressed two. You know whether you can release, where you can run by.
And honestly, the game plan was always simplified to a point where you never had to use as much knowledge as you gained during the week, but it put you in the habit of being a student and being over prepared.
Yeah.
Right. So when you do play the Florida State. So you go to the national championship where it's gonna be very physical, very close. you're going to be scouted. They know everything where you can have an edge or you know what to do.
What was the funnest game you ever played in college?
Funnest game, probably 2005 in Clemson, Death Valley, 3 overtimes. We ended up winning that game. That was fun. It was so loud in there, the air was shaking. I don't know if anybody ever been somewhere where it's so much noise, the air is shaking. I mean, we're helmet to helmet in the huddle and we cannot hear. And I'll go back to knowing your stuff. At that point in the season, everybody knew the signs from the sideline. So the O-line, the receivers, we had to start just knowing the signs. If we didn't know the signs, we could not have gotten the plays from the quarterback that game. We couldn't hear the cadence, anything.
And that changed during the game.
That changed during the game. As soon as they went up in the score, atmosphere changed, and it was so fun. I'll give you another one too. We played Florida State. It was a monsoon game at Florida State, and this was the first time I had seen. It was a hurricane warning. I mean, it's coming down, man. No one left the stadium. 70,000 while the rain's coming down. The rain, they're yelling. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. It was crazy. I'm like, what do I do? Like that. It was like so much energy. You know what I mean? Just to calm yourself and kind of be in the moment was hard. And then now I reflect back on it. We were running the most basic stuff. The coaches was going through it too. They just broke it on both sides. They breaking it down, and it was like basic. We're running ISO. We're gonna one-on-one and run a slant over here. Everything got really, really basic, you know. And when you're in situations like that's how tough games are, you know, in every level.
Game's not hard.
It's not hard.
Sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be.
When the game gets tough, it comes down to blocking, tackling, catching. Who could do that the best?
It ain't hard. My dude's better than your dudes.
You do all that stuff during the week. When you play somebody of quality, of competition, that's what's going to come down to. You're not going to outsmart them. They're not going to make a mistake. You know, in those situations, it's all about, you know, how good you're going to be, you know.
And the opportunity that you have now to pass on this wealth of knowledge to this next generation and these kids. I know you just moved back to Orlando area and you're looking to get back involved. Shout out local high schools. You might want to snatch this guy up.
Yeah, holla at me, man.
Anybody at the clinic, come hit him up. Would you go back to Dr. Phillips since you?
Man,
100. That's where you played. I mean, it's got to be a dream to go
100%.
back where you played from.
100%, man. I would. I feel like I could really put myself in their shoes, and they'll listen to me because I've been there, in these same hallways, on the same field, in the same locker room. So I would love to be there in my community while I actually played at, you know, and then coach.
Well, I hope you get that opportunity, Coach. I sure do appreciate you coming on with us today.
Yeah, man,
I hope I get a chance to get you on again. I'm going to get your number and, you know, enjoyed it. The stories. I know you got a whole lot more.
Yeah,
you're just
I do.
Trying to protect the innocent, not expose too many people. But I sure hope to get you on again, and I sure do appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Coach, man. Thank you.